Ever feel like we're only kind of scratching the surface of history?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, today we're grabbing our shovels and really digging deep,
Let's do it.
into the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh,
Specifically, a fragment known as 11Q13.
okay.
Now, you've probably heard about the Dead Sea Scrolls, but this one?
Yeah.
This one's a little different. It throws a bit of a curveball,
Mhm.
actually, with this mysterious figure, Melchizedek.
It's not just any mystery, though. 11Q13 puts Melchizedek right in the center of end times prophecy, which, that's a concept that pops up across different faiths.
Right.
But the way this scroll interprets it, get ready for some surprises.
Okay, so we're already talking ancient prophecies, mysterious figures.
Yeah, we're gonna
Need like a decoder ring for this one, or
You
what?
need more like a thinking cap.
Okay.
See, most people, they know Melchizedek as a priest, right?
Right.
But 11Q13, he's not just a priest, he's a judge. He's a king.
Whoa.
Think back to Psalm 82.1. It says, God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. This scroll, it takes that verse and it runs with it. It links it to the year of Melchizedek's favor.
The year of Melchizedek's favor. Okay, that sounds a little ominous and definitely intriguing, but what does it actually mean?
So it's all about this divine intervention,
Yeah.
a time of reckoning, but also a path to restoration.
Hmm.
And here's where it gets even more wild. The scroll connects this directly to the Jubilee year.
Okay, for those of us who haven't exactly brushed up on our ancient Hebrew customs lately, what's so special about a Jubilee year?
Imagine waiting for this 1 year, right?
Okay.
This reset button. Debts are wiped clean, families to get back their lost land. It's about release, a total fresh start.
Right.
Now, 11Q13, it takes that concept of the Jubilee year and it expands it
Okay.
to a cosmic level,
Oh.
linking it directly to being set free from sin spiritually.
Wow.
In fact, the scroll actually says, he will proclaim to them the Jubilee, thereby releasing them from the debt of all their sins.
So it's not just about earthly possessions. Right?
Yeah.
This is something way bigger.
Yeah.
A clean slate spiritually. But hold on a second. Who are we talking about here when we say he? Who's doing the proclaiming?
That is where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
This proclamation of the Jubilee, this cosmic reset, the scroll connects that to the Anointed One.
Okay.
We're talking about a messianic figure.
Right.
And to really drive home that point, it even mentions a Day of Atonement.
Okay, so we're dealing with some pretty intense terms here. We've got the Anointed One. We've got Day of Atonement. It feels like we're about to witness something huge E.
Exactly.
Right.
And the scroll doesn't just throw these terms around lightly. It connects them to a very specific timeline,
Okay.
a cycle of Jubilee years that culminate in a final Day of Atonement after the 10th period. It's almost like there's a cosmic countdown happening in the background.
Whoa, it's like they're saying, get ready, because things are about to get real.
Yeah.
And this Day of Atonement we're talking about here, this isn't just your average Yom Kippur, is it?
You got that right. We are talking cosmic consequences. In the scroll, the Day of Atonement becomes this grand, all-encompassing event where debts are settled on a universal scale.
So less about personal reflection and more about this divine intervention.
Exactly.
A day of reckoning for, well, everything.
For the entire world.
This is some serious high-stakes drama, but there's one detail we haven't really touched on yet. Who are the good guys in all of this?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to be around to enjoy this new era of righteousness.
Right. You are totally right. The scroll actually lays that out very specifically, identifying Zion with the congregation of all the sons of righteousness.
Okay.
These are the people that stayed true, upheld the covenant, and they're the ones who get to experience the ultimate payoff.
So it's not just about, punishment for the wicked, but a real reward for the righteous. But here's what gets me, who is Melchizedek in all of this. Is he enacting God's will, or is he acting on his own?
That is the question, isn't it? That's a question that sparks a lot of debate.
Yeah.
And this is where understanding Pesher becomes really important.
Okay, hold on a second. Pesher. Is that some ancient scroll deciphering technique that I need to know about?
You got it.
Okay.
Pesher is basically the method that the Essenes use to interpret Scripture.
Okay.
And it's all about finding those hidden meanings, revealing deeper truths that are relevant to their time.
Got it.
Think of it as connecting the dots between ancient prophecies and their present-day reality.
So they were basically saying, hold on, these old stories, these aren't just dusty tales. This is a roadmap, a secret code to understanding what's happening right here, right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
And they took this very seriously. They believed that by carefully studying, carefully interpreting the Scriptures, they could unlock the secrets of the end times.
Right.
And to them, Melchizedek, this mysterious figure from way back, held a key to understanding it all.
Wow. And that is where things get really, really fascinating. We've got the shadowy figure at the heart of this ancient prophecy, this cosmic countdown, and a group of people convinced they hold the key to understanding it all.
And we're just getting started. Next up, we'll delve even deeper into the world of the Essenes, who they were, what they believed, and why this scroll mattered so much to them.
It's one thing to read about these ancient beliefs, but can you imagine, like, actually living with that feeling,
Yeah.
that sense that things are about to change?
It really makes you think differently about history, you know?
Right.
It's not just like dates and names.
Right.
It's real people trying to figure out these big questions about faith,
Yeah.
about their purpose, about the fate of the world even.
And, I mean, those are questions that still feel relevant today.
Told you.
Right. Maybe we're not looking for chariots of fire in the sky, but that human need
Right.
to make sense of the unknown, that hasn't changed a bit. So let's talk about the people behind this scroll,
Yes.
the Essenes.
Okay.
Who were they?
The Essenes.
What were they all about?
They were a fascinating bunch. Picture like a group of Jewish mystics living out in the desert. They were disillusioned with the corruption they saw in Jerusalem, looking for a purer form of faith. And they believed they were living in the end times, like right then, that this massive showdown between good and evil was coming. And they, the Essenes, they were the righteous remnant,
Oh, wow.
the sons of light, chosen to bring in a new era.
So were they kind of like a secret society, like religious revolutionaries?
It's like a great way to put it.
Right.
They had their own rules. They were very strict,
Right.
their own interpretations of Scripture.
Right.
And they believed they had this, like, unique role in God's plan.
Right.
And for them, 11Q13, this scroll that we're talking about, it wasn't just a collection of interesting ideas. It was a guidebook, a source of hope. And in a way, it validated their beliefs.
Which makes me wonder, like, if they thought that were the chosen ones, the righteous few, what did that mean for everyone else? Like, were they expecting everyone to just get on board with this whole apocalyptic worldview?
That's actually something that's still being debated today.
Oh, really?
The scroll does talk about Zion as this community of the righteous,
Right.
but it also mentions all the captives as being redeemed.
Okay.
So there's definitely some room for interpretation there.
So maybe they weren't completely exclusive. Maybe there was, like, a little bit of hope for those outside their inner circle.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, even within a group like the Essenes, you're going to have varying opinions,
Of course.
different shades of belief. It wouldn't be fair to lump them all into one rigid ideology.
Right, right. Okay, so we've got these huge overarching themes, end times, this cosmic battle, Melchizedek, but the scroll also gets really specific about a Day of Atonement.
Yeah.
And it's not your average Yom Kippur, is it? What makes this Day of Atonement so unique, so important?
Okay, so think about it this way. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It's traditionally a time for reflection,
Yeah.
repentance,
Yeah.
righting wrongs.
Right.
But in 11Q13, it becomes this grand finale, a cosmic reset, you know?
Oh, wow.
It's not about individual atonement anymore.
Right.
It's about universal justice.
Right.
The scales are finally balanced.
So less about personal reflection, more like divine intervention.
Yes.
A day of reckoning for literally the entire world.
Exactly.
Like
And
that.
remember that whole timeline thing,
Yeah.
tied to the Jubilee years.
Right.
Well, this Day of Atonement, according to the scroll,
Yeah.
comes after the 10th Jubilee period.
Okay.
Like, mark your calendars, because this is when the real action starts.
Talk about a dramatic cliffhanger. But it's not all just like punishment and judgment, though, right? There's this promise of something new.
Yes.
A world that's cleansed, renewed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the hope comes in.
Okay.
The Day of Atonement isn't just an ending, it's also a beginning.
I like that.
It's the culmination of this long process of purification that leads to a time of peace and righteousness,
Wow.
with Melchizedek in charge.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about the good guys. But come on, every good story needs a villain.
Right.
And this scroll delivers.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah.
With this character named Belial.
Belial.
So who is this Belial, and why is he like public enemy number one for the Essenes?
So Belial is super interesting.
Okay.
You could almost compare him to the Satan figure in other traditions.
Okay.
He's evil, he's chaos, temptation, everything the Essenes are against.
So he's like the ultimate embodiment of everything they feared.
Yeah.
Everything they saw corrupting the world.
Yes, exactly. And they believed he wasn't just some abstract force out there.
Right.
He was an active agent of evil.
Yeah.
Leading people astray, messing with God's plan. And you got to remember, these were people living in a really uncertain world.
Right, right.
Surrounded by empires, conflicts, things they couldn't control. So Belial, he represented that chaos, that threat to their way of life, both physically and spiritually.
It makes sense that they would have such a strong reaction to something that represented those fears, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the Essenes, this battle with Belial, this wasn't just some theological debate.
Right.
This was life or death,
Wow.
a fight for the soul of humanity. And they saw themselves as warriors in this cosmic battle on the side of righteousness,
Wow.
with Melchizedek as their champion.
So they believed this scroll, with its cryptic messages, its prophecies, held the key to, like, winning this struggle.
It seems that way, yes.
Right.
11Q13 wasn't just some text to them.
Right.
It gave them strength, it validated their beliefs, and it was a roadmap for getting through these tough times.
It's amazing how they took these ancient prophecies and used them to understand their own world. You know, it reminds you that religious texts, they aren't static. They're constantly being reinterpreted, given new meaning.
Absolutely. And for the Essenes, this reinterpreting, it wasn't just an intellectual thing for them. It was survival,
Yeah.
a way to find meaning in a world that probably felt chaotic a lot of the time. They were trying to figure out their place in God's plan.
So we've got this community struggling with these huge questions, convinced that they're living in the end times, and they find this figure from the past, Melchizedek,
Right.
who seems to have the answers. It's almost too perfect.
Right. Like they found that missing puzzle piece.
Right.
This figure who connected their anxieties with these ancient prophecies.
Okay, but like any good mystery, there's still so many questions. What did the Essenes actually believe Melchizedek's role was going to be in all of this?
Right.
And how did that fit with their traditional beliefs?
Those are the questions that we're going to dig into next as we unpack some of the specific prophecies in 11Q13.
Okay.
Get ready, because this is where the real detective work begins.
All right, so detective hats on, everybody. We've got this mysterious figure, Melchizedek, right at the heart of the Essenes' whole worldview. Right.
But how do they square that
Yeah.
with their traditional Jewish beliefs?
That is the big question. So Melchizedek, he's kind of a puzzle, even in the Hebrew Bible itself.
Right.
He just pops up in Genesis, blesses Abraham, and then poof, gone.
He's like this mysterious figure that just disappears.
Vanishes. No family history, no big pronouncements, just this one really intriguing encounter.
So you have the total blank slate,
Exactly.
open to interpretation. I can see how that'd be exciting for the Essenes.
Totally. And a little frustrating probably too.
Right.
And that's where their pesher comes in, right? They saw this gap in the traditional story and they're like, opportunity
Right.
to add in their own understanding, to make Melchizedek a big player in this whole end times drama.
So they're not necessarily saying like the traditional view is wrong. It's more like they're layering on their own interpretation.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're using the scriptures to back it up.
Oh, yeah. They point to Psalm 110, for example. It says, you are appeared forever in the order of Melchizedek.
Now, most people, they saw that as referring to the future Davidic king.
Right, right.
But the Essenes, they're like, nope. Direct reference to Melchizedek himself.
It's all right there, plain as day.
We're not making this up. Exactly. And by connecting him to this ancient lineage, to the very heart of Jewish priesthood and kingship,
Right.
it gave their beliefs this weight.
Legitimacy.
Yes, this link to the sacred traditions of their past.
It's like they're building this incredible tapestry.
Yeah.
Bringing together biblical verses, prophecies, their own interpretations, and it all comes together, right, to make this really complex worldview.
Yes. And it's that worldview, that rock-solid faith in, one, that they're right, and two, that they have this crucial role to play in the apocalypse. That just jumps out of the 11Q13.
It's kind of mind-blowing, honestly, to think about what it must have been like to live with that level of conviction.
Intense, right.
Right, like the end times are coming and we are the key players.
And remember, they walked the walk. They left mainstream society, dedicated themselves to this life of purity and preparation. They really believed.
It makes you wonder, if you were in their shoes, would you have that same courage, that same unwavering faith?
I don't know.
It's a big question. And this scroll, with all of its mystery and powerful imagery, it wasn't just some theoretical thing for them.
Boy,
This was a lifeline.
it gave them hope when things felt dark and uncertain. And let's be real, they were living through some really tough times.
It's a powerful message,
Yeah.
and it still resonates today, even if we don't necessarily share all of their specific beliefs.
Right.
There's something really inspiring about their dedication, their unwavering faith.
Absolutely. And their story, it just reminds us that searching for meaning,
Yeah,
trying to understand our place in the universe.
it's universal, isn't it?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
a human thing. So as we wrap up our deep dive into 11Q13, into the Essenes' unique take on Melchizedek,
What's the one big takeaway? What do you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is this scroll, like all ancient texts, it's open to interpretation. There's no one right answer, no secret code to crack.
So it's not just about the information, right? It's about asking questions, digging deeper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to wrestle with the text a little.
Right.
Explore different viewpoints. See what resonates with you.
It's like we're continuing the conversation that the Essenes started all those centuries ago.
I love that.
Right. We're engaging with their ideas, their interpretations, maybe even finding some new meaning for ourselves along the way.
That's the beauty of these ancient texts.
Right.
They can reach across time and space, spark our curiosity, and help us see the world in a whole new way.
So well said. And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive in the books. But the conversation doesn't end here. Keep those brains buzzing and never stop exploring.